Hi folks, welcome to my channel or welcome back. My name is Kat. I'm a licensed and registered dietitian nutritionist and online nutrition coach. I focus in on sports nutrition, digestive health, prenatal nutrition, and overall practices that support physical, mental, social, and emotional well-being. Today we are reacting to some MLM and some non-MLM posts. There are things that just raised some red flags in my mind. So this is just some therapeutic time for me to do some venting, do some reacting, and post about it. So if that sounds good to you, let's go. If you do see something that you would like to share with me for a reaction, or your story about being in maybe one of the nutrition related MLMs that I often talk about, let me know. You can send it to my email, callingoutbodyshame@gmail.com, or you can share it even on my Instagram, either at Dietitian Kat Benson or Unlocked Nutrition. And let me know if you want to remain anonymous or not. This video is a little bit easier just to put together because I am working on a deep dive that has lots of twists and turns. There'll definitely be multiple parts to it, not at once, but just as we find out more information. I'll talk a little bit more about that deep dive in a little bit though. All right, so let's just dive into the very first one. It is a short little video from a Monat distributor, and she is sharing about the sale that they have going on. They always seem to have a sale going on, but let's just watch.
Is going to help digest. You can't really tell that didn't work. So anyways, but you're going to get the pre and probiotic free. Okay, so that's one thing you're going to get for free. And basically, guys, you need a probiotic in your routine. Like if you don't have one, you need one. It's something that every single person should have, especially if you have stomach issues. But guys, I mean, I literally, it's helped me with so much just putting a probiotic into my routine. Like 5 years ago, okay? So trust me, if you don't have one, you want one, and you can get this one for free this month.
So as I said, this is a very, very short video clip about the whole longer thing, talking about all of the free stuff that you can get with the Monat sale. If you have not watched my deep dive on Monat's nutrition wellness line, I'll leave that linked up in the cards. Spoiler alert, nothing that I would personally want to go out and purchase, but if you want the deep dive, check that video out. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't putting words into her mouth, that I actually talk about what she literally says.
And basically, guys, you need a probiotic in your routine. Like if you don't have one, you need one. It's something that every single person should have.
No, regardless of the company or the specific supplement, this is not something that distributors should be claiming about one of their products. I can understand if it's someone who's like really excited about selling a kind of specific like makeup product or a vacuum or something where they're like, you need to have this in your life. When it comes down to nutrition things, when it comes down to supplements, we have to be more careful with what we say. We, in my opinion, should not be saying you need to have this specific supplement, because in reality, especially when we're talking, I mean, supplements in general, there's no like one that's going to meet everybody's needs or that it's going to be helpful. Potentially something could be harmful for someone. So that's a red flag, first off. But two, specifically talking about digestive health. In one of my recent videos, I dove into digestive health, specifically talking about why I really get frustrated when a lot of MLM company distributors, especially people from Plexus, will talk about gut health and talk about it as if their product is going to be the like fixer of everything, is going to fix whatever somebody is experiencing digestive wise that is causing issues. That is not the case. Digestive health is something that we really do have to take a one-on-one look at in order to not only figure out where that's coming from potentially, but also to know how to respond to that, how to react to that, what to do protocol wise in order to move through that. And just throwing a probiotic at it, for some people that can help, but just talking about digestive health as a whole, that's not going to work. This next part is a good example of it's concerning with what they're saying because it's not the pathophysiology of it or anything.
You need one. It's something that every single person should have, especially if you have stomach issues. But guys, I mean,
probiotics are related to intestinal issues. Probiotics are something that we would do for intestinal purposes, not something that we would focus on if you have like legitimate stomach issues. That is just feeding into the misinformation that we have in the field of nutrition and health and wellness, which we see on social media. There's so much confusion around nutrition and health and wellness and what to do and what to listen to when we hear something kind of contradictory. There is going to be some questions that we're still trying to figure out. But when we're talking about the majority of the misinformation or the majority of the source of confusion, that is not coming from what we actually know, what we can agree on as experts in the field. It's coming from people who are just like parroting off what they hear their distributor or their upline distributors talk about, or what they see just quickly scrolling on social media, people who don't have that background. And so whenever I hear a distributor of a company, doesn't matter if it's Plexus or Herbalife or anything else, when they start talking about digestive health or other aspects of health as well, like nutrition wise, it just raises so many red flags because it just feeds into more misinformation and confusion for the people who are watching and trying to figure out what to do. It makes their life more challenging because they're trying to figure out what to listen to, what they should do. And it makes, on the other side, people who do similar things to me, we have to constantly talk about this misinformation with evidence-based practices. I told y'all this was just going to be some venting, some ranting. It's going to be therapeutic. I just get really passionate when it comes down to people who give misinformation or further promotes misinformation. It's one of the biggest things that frustrates me. Okay, so let's move on to the next video. This one is not particularly about an MLM diet or program, but this is one of the ones that I did want to talk about because it brings up some really, or a really good point to talk about when we're talking about just dieting, diet culture, and social media in general.
Okay, guys. Is it just me? I started a different way of eating a week ago. I have cut out pretty much all sugars, low carb. You know, it's been a struggle. It's not what I normally eat. I have drank a gallon of water for 7 days. I weighed today 1.5 pounds. I know it's something, but damn, I could have ate whatever the shit I wanted to and stayed the same weight.
This woman is very frustrated. She mentions that she started a diet, then backtracks and says she's sorry, a different way of eating. That's the first point that I wanted to talk about. There is a lot of push towards, on social media, a push towards having a healthier relationship with food. A lot of people are learning that diets don't work long term, that it can do more damage than good. And so because of this, a lot of different people, company, influencers are moving towards that kind of verbiage that talks about not being on a diet while still selling a diet. And it can be really tricky for people who are really challenging and struggling with the idea of shedding that diet culture when they see these kind of terms and see these companies or these people talking about how like diets don't work, but we're going to do this different way of eating instead. And it's still a diet, but we're just not going to call it that because we know that those don't work. You know, like that's not cool right now. That's not what's trending. And so we're going to call it something else, but it's still going to be the same underlying thing. It's still going to have those same underlying issues. That is what we see a lot in wellness culture. It's this kind of diet culture with a sheet covered over it. But when you take that sheet off, it's literally still diet culture. A lot of the BeachBody distributors are actually, even like the high up ones, are doing this. They're sharing things. They're maybe resharing things from dietitians and other people who are legitimately like leading the way in a non-diet approach. They'll repost them so it'll look like they're on the same side, they're trying to do the same thing, and then right after that they're promoting their new way of eating or their different way of eating that's still related to the diets that they were doing before, but is still foundationally the same, that doesn't take into account that person's hunger and fullness cues, their varying needs on different days, and that's just a surface level. But you can tell that there's still dieting programs, kind of like what we've talked about. BeachBody itself, they like to always say that the 21-day portion fix and 2B mindset are not diets, but they still are. So let's just move forward to the next main point in that short little video. She mentioned that she lost 1.5 pounds in 1 week, and also that she has been drinking more water. I'm assuming more water. She was talking about how she was drinking a gallon of water each day. And so if she brought that up, I'm assuming that's more than what she used to drink. She saw that reduction, and she has been having more water intake. She's probably going to have more water weight overall too. And she can be happy or unhappy about anything. Like, that is not my place to say, well, you shouldn't be unhappy about that or you should be happy about that. Like, I'm not going to police somebody's feelings and emotions because that's a terrible thing to do. But what I am going to say is that going back to diet culture, it's kind of pushed this narrative that we need to see that weight change in order to see that health change and in order to have healthy practices. She mentions that she could have eaten whatever she had wanted to and still been the same weight. While that could be true, that doesn't say anything about health and energy and just how you're feeling overall. She is equating that weight to what she ate versus looking at what she ate and how it was making her feel and how her energy levels were and how she was building skills and practices and actions that are going to support her physical, mental, social, and emotional well-being. It wouldn't matter because the only focus is that weight piece. And when we do that, that's how we see that diets can really be harmful for someone. They set people up for failure when they don't see that weight change and they start to really focus on that instead of all of the other benefits that we see from having a more intentional and health promoting intake and actions. And just the amount of people who diet their way up, you know, drop 20, gain 25, drop 30, gain 35, for decades, dieting their way up to where they're at their highest. That is just so frustrating and so upsetting. Not upsetting at the people who did that, but the companies and the culture that is encouraging that. Because those people who have dieted their way up, they are victims of diet culture. I could never be mad at them. I am frustrated at the culture of dieting and the companies who sell dieting to change that body weight with the focus of the weight equaling good or desirable or attractive or healthy, when that's not inherently what's going to happen. And if they do see that change, looking at the research and how many people aren't able to sustain that, and the result of that being putting more stress on their body, I just really wanted to talk about how this kind of outlook can really harm someone's view of how they see success and how they see their body and the actions that they're doing that maybe do promote their health, how they can actually be really harmful, if not physically, also mentally, socially, and emotionally. This kind of thinking is still really prevalent today, and let's quickly chat about where it stems from. Now, I did talk about this in my Health at Every Size video, leave that linked up in the cards. I'm just going to read a very small portion of one of my favorite books, Fearing the Black Body, The Racial Origins of Fat Phobia, and I go more into depth in the video that I just had linked. Okay, so according to this dude named Buffin, he was the author of the book titled Of the Varieties in the Human Species. He said, the plumpness of Black Africans was evidence of their ease of circumstance and their idleness. The land inhabited by the Black people, he claimed, was rich, abounding in pasturage, in millet, and in trees always green. For this reason, Black Africans were able to stay well nourished with little to no effort, which made them well fed, but also simple and stupid. Buffin's linking of fatness to laziness and slow-wittedness was in harmony with the ideas of thin, fine, serious intellectuals of England of a century earlier. So again, that linking of fatness to laziness or slow-wittedness or lack of being seriously intellectual is really problematic, and this is really where we see in the history it start to take hold and people start to believe it and start to really put those two links together. And then also later in the book, I have this in my notes, I can't find it in the book right now, but I talk about this in the video as well, that now moving into the early Enlightenment in England, women would have new reasons to be concerned about their weight. Several English philosophers and moralists were beginning to draft revisions to the standards of taste, which included a reconfiguration of aesthetic ideals. So the height of beauty, they suggested, should reflect the nation's moral compass as well as its racial caliber. Anything that could be construed as evidence of gluttony, they claimed, was beneath them. This was really the start of culture telling us that we cannot trust our hunger and that we needed to just push through it for a smaller body. And many traditional fundamentalists are still in this frame of mind. A lot of people who are not traditional fundamentalists are also in this frame of mind. They aren't really aware of how much that kind of foundation or that culture has bled into how we see and how we approach health and weight today. And while they may disagree with certain parts and a lot of other parts of that fundamentalist kind of background or foundation, they will still be very much in alignment with how they see health and how they see weight and what it should be. It's really interesting once you dive into the history of it, and once you start diving into it, it's just frustrating, it's mind-blowing, it's upsetting. It makes so much sense as to why we have this kind of focus. It just explains a whole lot. So this leads into the third post, the third picture. This is by the Transformed Wife, who is a traditional fundamentalist creator. She had a story. She took a picture or a screenshot of a tweet and asked her audience what they thought of it, if they agreed or they disagreed. The tweet says, "When I gained weight, my dad told me that being overweight is a physical manifestation of selfishness." And she asked her audience if they agree or disagree. Not surprisingly, the majority of them agreed with that being overweight is a physical manifestation of selfishness. There are so many reasons why someone can be at a higher weight. It can be related to trauma or a trauma response, depression or other mental health conditions, chronic illnesses, physical disabilities, access to resources, and literally so much more. Just saying that somebody at a higher weight is a physical manifestation of selfishness is one of the most uneducated opinions that someone can have. And I don't mean uneducated in the sense of like their whole being. I don't know if I'm gonna like get anybody mad at me for saying this, but it is just, it's not bringing your opinion from an educated place, and it's very much surface level. And we see this a lot in this community specifically of fundamentalist, traditional kind of people who have that lifestyle. But we also see it seeped from there into diet culture and into lots of different companies within diet culture. And yes, that includes a lot of nutrition related MLM ones. And the reason why I really focus on those, and I will make some other videos about companies who are not MLM, who are still really problematic, but the reason why I really like to focus on the MLM ones is because they are constantly promoting the idea of bringing more people in. And not that the other companies are not wanting to bring people in, because that's how they make money, but you are having people who are coming in and they're calling them things like coaches, and they're calling them those things that people who aren't as familiar with health and they're just trying to get healthier, it's going to be confusing, and they're going to have more trust in those people when they really should not be in that position. Not because I'm hateful or anything, just because it is literally harmful for public health, in my opinion. And so if anybody is watching and they're really struggling with the idea of being at a higher weight and seeing that as laziness or selfishness, I encourage you to look at where that came from, where that thought came from. Who are the people who really started pushing that, and ask why they maybe wanted to push that idea. It's just concerning that a majority of these people think that it is just this kind of willpower type thing. Okay, so this next one, you thought I was heated already. This one is from Anti-Beachbody Coach from Instagram. I will have them linked in the description box. So this one is from Ashley Molstead. I did a deep dive video on her intuitive eating course. Her intuitive eating course that is not intuitive eating, by the way. It's a very problematic course. I talk about it in my video, so check that out if you have not. I do have her blurred in the video, but after watching this specific video, I can't change the blur now, but I am sharing that name because to me, after watching this, it feels unethical to not share that name. So let's watch.
I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed with how many of you want to join my group. Give me a minute. I'm working slowly to get back to you. And like, I would have no messages, you know? And so it feels a little bit like a lie, but I heard a thing, hold on. I heard someone say, faith it till you make it. And you can faith it like into believing that it's going to happen. And so I know people, I've been in sales before, and people like FOMO, like, you know, you're gonna miss out. Everybody's doing this. Like I sold books door to door one summer, and I remember part of the script was like, I just met with like Susie and Pam and whatever your neighbors, and they all bought, and they said I should talk to you. So then this mom's like, oh my gosh, my friends are buying, my neighbors are buying. So that's what I started doing, like with my posts, like, oh yeah, you know, you guys are, I'm so excited to kick off all the amazing ladies who are going to join my group. And like, I would have nobody signed up. So in the beginning, you know, I had to do a lot of one-on-one behind the scenes inviting. And I'm very sensitive to sales. I hate salespeople. Like I hate going into a grocery store or a department store and they're like, anything I can help you with? I'm like, please leave me alone. Like, I just don't want anybody talking to me, you know? Or, I mean, talking to me is fine, but not like if I feel like then I would make like a post like, oh my God.
She is talking about how she lies, how she would lie when she was creating her programs and having nobody sign up and say that people were signed up so that people would have that FOMO or fear of missing out and then join her program. And she is using this faith it until you make it instead of fake it until you make it. That is still wrong, in my opinion. That is still very slimy, and it is lying. And you might say like, oh, well, you don't know, like it's hard to stand out and to sell programs in the field of health and wellness and nutrition and things like that. I have made programs myself. I have never lied that people have joined. And it's not because people have joined. I just don't post about it. Like, I don't say that nobody signed up, but I also don't say, I pretend that people signed up. I just use the content for like something else or make it better and then create that program like down the line. That's what I've done in the past. That is straight up unethical to do. I'm not perfect. I will never claim to be perfect. And at the same time, I can honestly say that I have never lied about having people sign up for programs or services through my LLCs to get more sales. Never. I just think it's wrong, in my opinion, to profit off this anti-diet, non-diet kind of approach while still selling a diet and then lie about people who are joining it. Okay, so this next picture is one that I see a lot in the MLM community from a lot of distributors. It says, "You will never be criticized by someone who is doing more than you. You will only be criticized by someone doing less." I don't know why sometimes people will take a quote and people will take it as the truth. Do we really want to live in a world where we don't talk about some of the harmful things that people are doing? We should, in my opinion, talk about and call out harmful actions and practices that people are doing, not because we're less, but because it impacts other people. It affects a lot of other people. I don't know, like if I were to see somebody who was, let's say, harming an animal, and that was like their hobby, that's all they did, I would say that I'm doing more than them in life in general, and at the same time, I'm still going to criticize their actions. Just because you criticize an action that someone is doing doesn't mean that you're doing less. Like if you are just living your life and always criticizing people, always criticizing someone, and you're not really helping like with moving things forward, I can kind of get, I would say that'd be more harmful for that person doing that. But for people who are making content, we are giving information because those harmful actions, in my opinion, it can negatively impact and affect people. So it's important to talk about it. And that's another thing. A lot of MLM distributors will think that any criticism that they hear about what they're doing is this personal attack on them, when in reality, we're mostly like the people who I follow, other people who I hear and see talk about similar things, we're talking about the actions. We're not talking about the person. That's one of the reasons why I blur people in my videos and I don't share their names and stuff, other than Ashley now, because I don't want to create this kind of criticism around them as a person, unless they're doing like, if they've just gone over the line in unethical things in a variety of different ways. But I like to blur them because I want to talk about the actions, not the person. You will never get into a video of mine and see me like making fun of their looks or what they're wearing. It is all about how their actions can be harmful to health and wellness and in the nutrition field. So from all angles, this quote, it just will not die, and it's just not a real issue in my opinion. Okay, so I have a deep dive coming up. There is so much talk about it right now. Most of it, I feel like, in the anti-MLM community has been pushed forward. Encouraging people to talk about it has been through Mombi. I would say that it's mostly thanks to her that the people who are talking about it are getting their content, their information out there. And so I'm really excited to create my video. I know there are other creators who are working on their videos right now, and we definitely need to talk about this company. So I'm gonna try to have that up by next week. There'll probably be multiple parts to it. I'm not sure when. I'm just gonna get everything together, but I wanted to give you a very brief preview about it. We're gonna be diving into BOO, or Black Oxygen Organics. As always, I will be taking a look, an angle from a nutrition related focus, diet related claims, and it'll be similar to pictures like this. Someone said, "I am starving all the time and craving sweets since starting BOO. I can't afford to eat crap as I am already 60 pounds overweight. What is going on? This person got a lot of responses. Some of them were really wild. Someone said, it's waking the parasites up and they want crap. Keep killing them and flushing them out with lemon water. Next person said, I ate a lot of bananas when I was detoxing from sugar. And another person said, your parasites are dying. They crave sugar. So first off, there are a lot of reasons why we can crave or like desire higher sugar foods. One reason might be because we haven't eaten enough and our bodies are smart. They know that the quickest, easily digestible form of getting energy in or calories in is going to be in easily digestible carbohydrates, which would primarily be sweets. And so that can be a reason. Could also be a reason that maybe you didn't have enough like balance of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Maybe you are just tired. Your body sometimes will crave energy because it's tired, but it could definitely be that you just haven't eaten enough and your body is truly hungry. It could be for comfort of stress or negative emotion. It could also be for celebration of a positive emotion or event. It could be to have that joy and experience that food with people. And there are other reasons as well. If you do have a parasite, that is something that your doctor needs to be aware of and treat in an appropriate way, not by drinking dirt. Lemon water is not going to flush out parasites. I don't know where that came from. And to the person who said, I ate a lot of bananas when I was detoxing from sugar, bananas quite literally are sugar dense. They are a good source of carbohydrates. I mean, even broccoli has glucose in it. It has sugars in it. That doesn't mean that we have to give up broccoli. Like, we should not. Again, going back to misinformation and just really wild umbrella claims of detoxing from sugar and cutting out carbohydrates, but still having broccoli and spinach and things that have glucose in them or things that break down to sugars. It makes people scared of sugar itself. It makes people not have that actual foundation of nutrition education that really empowers them. And detoxing isn't necessary to reduce cravings. We know that. And lastly, they can't even agree. Someone says your parasites are dying. The other one says it's the parasites waking up. I can't make this stuff up. This boo stuff is really sketchy. I already interviewed somebody who was at the top of the company, a distributor who left. So we're going to chat more about that in the next deep dive. We'll also talk about where the dirt that they are getting, their source, where that is located, and lots more claims and how to report them. So hopefully that'll be up next week. We'll see. All right, so that is all for this video. If you liked it, please go ahead and leave a like and make sure you're subscribed. If you are not, of course, only if you want to. I will see you next time. And remember, you can strive for health without subscribing to diet culture. All right, I'll see you later. Bye.